Okay.
Hello, Judith.
Good evening, Sonya. We are burning the midnight oil tonight.
We are. We have had, I'll tell you, sometimes it's hard for two working women to get together just to have a good time and podcast.
Right? This is
welcome to the Coach's Cup.
Yes. The midnight version.
Yeah.
I could hardly hold. Please know I have dry eyes, y'all, right now. So bad. I'm not sure.
Well, tell them who you are.
Oh, I'm Judith Fender. I'm Coach Judith Fender. I'm one of the amazing coaches with the No BS weight loss program.
Any time of day or night, you're amazing. And I am Sonya Green. I am a women's empowerment coach with Sonya Green Coaching.
Dang, Sonya.
I know.
That just sounds so good.
Better after midnight. No, it really, folks, it really isn't that late here. But for us, we're like
got an hour ahead behind me. It's my bedtime.
That's true. No, we are both early to bed, early to rise kind of gals. Mm-hmm. And so for us, this is the midnight oil. So welcome to the Coach's Cup, where today we're going to talk about perfectionism. But before we do, we want to, if anybody is watching on our YouTube channel, I want you to see our amazing new Coach's Cups.
Look at that. Our faces on a mug.
These are really nice mugs too. We picked out some 15-ounce mugs to hold some. I'm drinking water right now.
I am. Oh my gosh. Did I tell you I quit drinking coffee? I know, it's true.
You can't break something like that to me on a podcast when we're recording. Well, whatever you want to put in your cup, we encourage water, tea, coffee, something like that. You could win one. Tell them how they could win one, Coach Judith.
You could leave us a 5-star review and a written review. We need to be sure and emphasize that it's not just giving us the 5-star. We need your words. And we want to help get other women, other people, anyone you think that could benefit from hearing our wisdom, our midnight wisdom. We're just trying to get the word out. And we both agreed that we would rather take this money and make fun things than try to spend on advertising. So you could win a fun mug for just leaving some words.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that, because several people have left, they've literally left 5-star reviews, and we love you for doing that, folks. But when you leave just 5 stars, it doesn't record who you are. You have to actually write words for us to know who you are. So let me go over really quickly. We've had 2 weeks of winners. And if I call your handle that you've used for your review, if you will just email me at Sonya, SONYA, at SonyaGreenCoaching.com with the mailing address you want me to ship this to, we'll ship it out to you. But if you have given us just a star review, if you'll go back and put some words into that review, then your name will go in the drawing, because then we'll have your name captured. Right now, we don't know who you are. But the first week, the winners were J.K. Wagner and Melinda's Flowing. Oh, I didn't write any more than that. Melinda, MALINDA, apostrophe S, Flowing. And there was something after that, but I don't remember what it was. Sorry, Melinda, you should know. That's good enough. Email me. Yeah.
Melinda Flowing.
Yeah. And then this week, it is Seattle 98065 and T Mueller, MUELLER CPA. So if the 4 of you could email me at Sonya at SonyaGreenCoaching.com and just shoot me your address, we will be sending you some mugs.
Sweet.
Yeah. All right. You want to tell us what we're talking about today, Judith?
Oh my gosh. Perfectionism, y'all.
Yes, we are here with it. Because if you are a high achieving person, man or woman, we speak from a woman's point of view, but you probably struggle with some perfectionism in your life, right?
I'm going to go with agreed on that. I don't know. Like, I've coached a
Guilty
lot.
as charged.
Like, how can you not?
Yeah, exactly. But there's, many times we just talk about the bad kind of perfectionism that keeps us from moving forward. And there's actually two different kinds of perfectionism.
Yes.
What are those?
They are the adaptive kind of perfectionism. The adaptive kind is where you actually like are optimistic and move towards things, and you like want to develop the skills. It's a healthier type of approach to your work. And the opposite of that, of course, would be the maladaptive type of perfectionism. And that's where people are really never satisfied with what they achieve. And if it isn't perfect, they'll dismiss it. They are more likely to experience fear of failure, anxiety, unhappiness, painful emotions.
Well, and we know that all perfectionism, everything that we think about comes from a thought. But I think when I'm thinking about this, the biggest way to know if you have healthy perfectionism,
that midnight oil, y'all.
perfectionism, then that's coming from a positive thought, a thought that energizes you. It charges you up. If you're living with the maladaptive perfectionism, it's always from fear, from not feeling worthy.
Right. It's that like the hallmark of a maladaptive perfectionist would be that inner critic, that inner negative self-talk is the bottom line.
Yeah. And so it's probably not surprising. Most of you know that I coach women with imposter syndrome. It's not surprising that perfectionism and imposter syndrome really overlap in so many places.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because people feel like they're not worthy. What?
Talk more about that.
Yeah.
Coach me.
Well, women start feeling, or people start feeling unworthy. It's mostly women and minorities who deal with it. But, some white males also deal with it. But it's just that creeping in belief that I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm here by luck or by chance or whatever. And so I have to earn my keep. And if you're thinking on one hand that you're not worthy, and on the other hand that you have to earn your keep, those are never going to balance out.
Yeah.
It's something you've got to give yourself some grace on.
Yeah. It's real quiet on that one. I'm like, I think I've said that a time or two.
Well, we do, and it just goes to the power of coaching, that we still deal with these things. We say that all the time.
Yeah.
But, I was listening to a podcast the other day. I don't remember who it was right now, but that coach said, if you have a half managed mind, you can still live an amazing life. Right. You can still be successful. You can still, accomplish so many more things if it's just half managed. And, many times coaches have a half managed mind.
Right.
We're not perfect.
No. And, what I think is so interesting about this, like, since we're just like getting personal, is that, I consider myself to so many levels, like imperfect, and I really can lean into it. I'm open, I'm honest, I'm willing to just stick it all out there. But it's little things here lately. I've been working on some productivity tasks to increase my productivity. And it's detail oriented. It has me, trying to focus on managing my time better, things that I haven't had to practice in a very long time. And it is it's causing some anxiety because I'm having lots of thoughts and feelings about how I'm avoiding it. Because I'm like, well, it's just not going to be good enough. Well, I don't know my goal. And, with this, and I'm like, can't even come up with a goal. And what, because I just like that. The story I tell myself, which has served me well, is just keep going. I'm just going to keep going and have fun. And something excites me, I'm going to go towards it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, I know I'm off on
So what's getting in your way now?
Of just putting it on paper. It's not how I've typically rolled.
Well, and we've talked about this before. I don't know if you remember. Oh, I'm sure you remember, but we've talked before about how you don't like to write things down. You'd rather talk your way through them.
The do line is my favorite thing, the action line.
Yeah.
If there's something I want, I do it. But when it comes to details and managing, and I get it, and I want to do this, but I'm also very aware. That's the fun thing when we have awareness. I'm very aware of how I am talking to myself. I'm very aware how I'm avoiding it and what I'm making it mean, how I'm showing up in other areas of my life. And that in and of itself is very unrewarding.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the place we put ourselves in, right? That's where perfectionism puts us. I have been in projects where I'm working on the positive side of perfectionism, where, and this is how you always know, I mean, you get that energy where you could just work for days on a project because you're just getting energized by it. You love it. You could just, keep going. But it doesn't take but just a small shift, something that we're not as comfortable with, something that reminds us of something from our youth. Somebody told us at some point that we weren't good at this, or that we're better at this than we are at that. And we can veer off from that positive perfectionism. I'm really having trouble with that word tonight. To that negative side and those beliefs.
Agreed. I was all in when you were talking about, things that feeling that has you moving towards it. Something you want to do. It's like podcasting or coaching or self-development. Like, I love all that stuff.
Yes.
Love it. Yeah. I love it. And here's what I also know is I am whining. I am not going to say what Corinne says. I don't know that I could say it, but anyway, whining like a tea baby.
Yeah.
That I'm whining about this. And I know if I could put my nose to the grind for 5 minutes and just get some words on the paper and just show up on the paper, that really, that's all that I need to do. But I've made this orchestrated. I printed all the papers. I've got it all organized. I feel very highly feels productive.
Yes.
But it's not.
Right. Yeah. No, you're in that consumption.
Yeah. Well,
phase of
printing is production. Sonya? Work with me on this one now.
You all can't.
No critical feedback, please.
Yeah. That's funny. If you all could see the looks right now that we're passing back and forth. Anyway, we've been kind of looking at different people's views of perfectionism, but you had a quote, I think, from Brene Brown.
I think I have two really good ones. One where she says that perfectionism is a 20-ton shield, that we think it will keep us from being hurt, but in reality, it keeps us from being seen.
I love that.
And hidden and avoiding and fearful.
Yes.
And it's so true, because that's what I'm talking about. Like this particular project, it has me feeling in a small way about myself when I show up.
Yeah, no, I was in a cycle of that for several years. I found myself hiding Years. Yes.
Years. Oh.
Yes. And the cause of it has everything to do with that next quote that you have from her.
Okay. Did we talk about my dry eyes yet?
Sorry.
I can't focus. Y'all, I put eye drops in. It's when perfectionism is driving. Oh my gosh. Yes. That shame is riding shotgun. Brene Brown.
Yes.
I love that quote so much, because so much of what, when we talk about emotions in the coaching world, we're teaching our clients about, who's right beside you. Like, you can put anxiety right beside you. You can strap, I tell my clients, you can strap it in, it gets to ride there all day long, but it just doesn't get to touch the steering wheel. And that's exactly what she's saying. Like, there is shame right there. You're very aware of it every step of the way with perfectionism. It's just one failure to shame.
Because again, perfectionism is rooted in fear and not feeling worthy. And it's shame that leads us not to feel worthy. And I don't know about you all, but there is no feeling that I try to avoid more than shame. I hate that.
Worst.
It is.
There is no upside to shame. And I love, the only comfort I find in shame is that it's universally felt. It feels just as bad on you as it does on me.
Yes. We all feel it. We all have our moments. But, with perfectionism, well, and with any of them, another thing I really like that she says is that shame can't survive with a light on it. Right. It can't survive in the light. Right. Shame thrives in the darkness.
Right. So talking about it, sharing with other people, working on it, getting coaching on it.
Yeah.
Super helpful. And I find that a lot in my private clients, that's a common, that shame, one is unfamiliar. The ability to define what they're feeling. Yeah. And we do a lot of work on body scanning and trying to, because it feels so bad. You run your whole life trying to avoid feeling it.
Yes. Well, and let's think about this with perfectionism. I know I have coached multiple women on this, and I bet you have too. They start talking about their perfectionism, and you see this correlation, the shame that they're feeling, between the perfectionism and the shame that they're feeling, because, well, I want to make sure I'm doing my part. I want to make sure everybody knows that I'm doing enough, that I'm blah, blah, blah. And you look at them and say, if your colleague were doing this and this and this, would you think that they're not doing enough?
Right.
And what do they say every time?
Well, no.
They would never feel that way about somebody else. They would never feel that somebody else reacting or doing their job the way they are isn't doing enough. But boy, we throw on that shame shawl just as quick as we can because we don't feel worthy.
Yeah. And it's not good enough, not worthy. That I have to tell you, those two feelings. Can y'all hear my dog? She's doing the march of it's time to go to bed, up and down the hall barking. So I'm sorry.
She's rallying her people.
She is. She said, "Mama, it's bedtime." Yeah, I know y'all heard that one. That was a loud one. What is the problem with perfectionism? So like the problem, when it can affect your health, right? Because it also, when you're in the stages of procrastinating or avoiding work, anxiety gets to kick in. Yeah. Because you have awareness of what's going on, and you start obsessing over what you're thinking, and it can affect how you show up both personally and professionally.
Yeah. It keeps us from, it's funny, we're trying to work toward being perfect, but actually the way we show up is just the opposite. We show up small. We show up ashamed. And you're never going to be your best self. You're never going to perform in the way you want to when you're carrying that maladaptive I give up. I can't say it. Perfectionism.
Oh, yeah. Maladaptive. Yep. Mhm.
Perfectionism, where it's just not going to happen.
Mhm.
So we've come up with some ways to overcome
Mhm.
the maladaptive
Mhm.
perfectionism.
Yep. So the first one is to challenge your behavior. That's make a list of things you think that you must be perfect at. And with each one of those, write down why you believe that this activity must be perfect.
Yeah.
Like if you think you resist delegating tasks to someone, like Sonya, we were doing a little pre-gaming about you don't let your husband do the laundry or you can't do the laundry.
No, I'm the only one that can do it. I have to do it. And boy, we take that on. One of the things I get on, I'm on to myself when I hear me saying things like, well, I should, or I have to. When I start using those, I should, I must, I have to, I'm on to myself pretty quickly
Right.
because
Those are,
I know. Yeah.
I agree. This cycle that I'm learning about myself that with just where I'm at currently, and really identifying because it's so much. I do so much talk in the weight loss world about self-sabotage, but thinking of perfectionism as a self-sabotaging behavior profession.
Absolutely.
And when I read that cognitively and try to understand it, I find it quite devastating when I went to wrap my brain around, and I'm really feeling motivated and inspired to do something about this. So that brings us into this: when we are challenging the behavior and why you believe it needs to be perfect, you want to be sure to do like keep it small and doable and do like one thing at a time, because otherwise it's going to lead you to the next big feeling, and that's overwhelm.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the wrong thing to do, you definitely want to challenge your behaviors, but the wrong thing to do with perfectionism is to say, well, I'm just throwing all that out and I'm going to have a whole new plan that I start tomorrow.
Yep.
That is, oh, how many
It's
times?
classic. It's classic. And
Yes.
and from it, when I zoom out, and I say this, y'all, with like a zoom out perspective, but it almost becomes, and not funny is not the right word, but it's so predictable to see in people. That's what I want to say. It's so predictable.
Yeah. And so all we do is replace one kind of perfectionism with another.
Yep.
I think Carl Lowenthal calls it perfectionistic fantasies that we
Right.
have.
That sounds so good, but like, oh.
Myself doing it. I mean, I was listening to one of her podcasts prepping for this, and I was like, oh, that's what I've been doing. And we are very, our brains are complex, and boy, they'll be quick to say, well, we'll just replace that one with this one, and ooh, that's better. And all it does is it's another way to just overwhelm yourself.
100%, 100%. So that kind of, it rolls us into the number 2, and that's setting realistic goals. We don't want to set your objectives so high that there's no hope of achieving them. So we want to make sure that that your life goals, career goals, whatever, your weight loss goals, your calendaring goals, whatever you're doing, needs to be super doable and realistic.
Yeah, back them up. I mean, when I am really trying to overcome perfectionism, I'll back them down to like just 2 or 3 things that I know I am on lock with. Those 2 or 3 things, I will commit to them no matter what.
Right. It's really comforting too when you do that.
Yes.
This is what I can do. This is what I have control over, and I can do this. Can I just do,
Well, the whole thing, with perfectionism is we are out of integrity with ourselves. We haven't talked about integrity in a few months, but it's always on my mind. I try to stay in integrity with myself. And if I'm not keeping up with the plan I have, then I'm not in integrity. Somewhere in my mind, it's just cooking away. That shame's cooking away because I'm not in integrity with myself.
And it's so true in that, because when I think of when I'm not in integrity with myself, I'm hurting myself. This is me
Yes.
actively hurting myself.
Yes.
No one else is doing this, Judith. No one else has said one word to you. This is all from your thinking.
Yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
Soaking in a big pot of shame.
Let's number 3, listen to your emotions. If you're feeling anxious or unhappy about a task, and your instincts could be telling you that you're trying to achieve something that's not doable or it's impossible, you need to adjust. Listen to yourself. Listen to the emotion. Check in.
Yeah.
And adjust your target.
Yeah. Don't, we're not saying listen to that voice and accept it.
Mm-hmm.
It's listen to it and be on to your brain.
Be on to your brain. That's so well said. Perfect. Yeah, because if you notice yourself negative self-talking, that's a big indicator that you're getting into that, negative self-talk and self-judgment and just being aware.
Yeah. But usually most people, and I'm this way too, it's a feeling before we name the thought. The thought happens first, but we usually feel the feeling first.
That is so me. And I'm really surprised. I have quite a few clients that are thought first.
Really?
Yes, I know. I am a feelings. 100% will catch myself.
I think generally most people are, because we'll have a feeling and we can't even name, like, other than just, I'll feel like a heavy blanket on me. And I'm like, why am I feeling this way? And it really takes some work sometimes to name it. Sometimes I'm on to myself, but sometimes it takes a little work. Yeah. Okay. The next one is don't fear mistakes. And this gets into what we talked about last week with our portal.
Yeah.
Talk about our portal, Judith.
This is where learning that mistakes are part of life and not being afraid to push yourself and try new things. And this is where James Joyce calls mistakes the portals of discovery. And we were talking about, that's like when my son was in the pool with his friend and his friend did the, welcome to the portal. Yeah. With his hand. It was just so cute. And my son just loved it. So, thinking of this as your portal into learning about yourself.
Yeah. That's all perfectionism. It's just, what can perfectionism teach me about myself?
It's going to teach you to learn to accept yourself. If you go through the portal, it's the portal to self-acceptance.
Yes. And everybody goes through it. Well, everybody experiences it. The portal shows up to take everybody
what are they
for a ride.
When they go through that, Sonya? What are you talking about? Everybody goes through the portal?
Yeah. No, everybody doesn't, but everybody could if they chose to.
Yeah.
And those who do get the reward.
They know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they get the benefits for sure.
Yeah.
And I think, I like this. Number 5, readjust your personal rules. Living by, if your rules are rigid, you might need to check in with yourself. If you've got to check your emails 5 or 10 times before you hit send, just get on to yourself.
That reminds me, I heard Andrew Huberman. I was listening to a podcast of his this morning, and you and I haven't talked about this yet, but I want us to investigate this a little bit more. But he is right now in this period where he has what he calls 25 no-goes a day. And they are things that he will not let himself do. To try to, what he's trying to do is basically build his integrity with himself and his ability to to, I guess, control his outcomes.
Is this like the stress tolerance?
Maybe, probably a little bit of that. Yeah. Feeling discomfort and working through it. But he was talking about that today. And I think I was thinking about readjusting my personal rules. And he said it can be something as simple as he's working and he wants to get up and get a drink of water. And he's like, no, I will sit here until this task is done. Even though it's so easy to say, well, you need to hydrate, you need to drink your how many ounces a day, but he won't let himself do it.
That's really a powerful thing when I think about like urges, like working through urges. Just feeling the emotion, feeling the discomfort.
Yes.
Building up his, I think that is distress tolerance.
Yeah, it may be. It may be.
He's pretty smart. I wouldn't challenge him.
He is. No, you're right. But I love that. And I haven't really had the chance to think about that in terms of perfectionism, but that whole ability to readjust your goals, I think to really re-see what your goals are and what they're doing for you. So that maybe that's something we'll explore later. But the next one is focus on the bigger picture. And I love this one because this is something that I teach with people with imposter syndrome all the time. And this isn't the only way you could take it, but when I think about it, this is the way I go with it. In imposter syndrome, people feel unworthy and they feel like everybody is always watching them because everybody thinks they're unworthy. And the truth of the matter is, in the bigger picture, who are we all watching?
Ourselves.
Yes. Yes.
Right. Because perfectionism causes tunnel vision.
Yes.
Like so microscopically focused on yourself.
Laser focused. So if you pull out and focus on the bigger picture, you'll see that nobody's really looking at you. Everybody's got their nose to the grindstone trying to do their part, trying to carry their own burdens.
And then that's actually a good way to think about when you look at the bigger picture, it helps reduce your urge to want to be perfect, right? Because it's getting you out of that narrow focus. Because that the urge is to stay narrow. How am I doing wrong and critical and keep pushing?
And that goes, that ties back to the very first thing we talked about, challenging your behaviors. It's not about you, folks. And that's a load off. When you realize that nobody's really looking at you and, it's not, the world is not, they don't hold the spotlight on you. That's a load off.
Right. Well, that leads right into number 7.
Yep.
Relax and go with the flow, y'all.
That one sounds really simple.
Right.
But you've got to work through those other 6 steps before you get there.
Yeah. You got to kind of breathe in between, allow some space for yourself, go outside and, really, if like for me, I think about my 30-minute meditation. If anybody follows me on Instagram, just Judy, I think that's what my handle is.
Yeah, it is.
I do a 30-minute meditation every day on the Calm app. And so it gives me a nice little picture. It gives me something to put on my Instagram stories. And there are always insightful little quotes I'm going to, if I must say, but, just allowing yourself some time during the day to switch off.
Yes. Absolutely. I love that. Switch off.
Fun fact, I listen to the same Calm app meditation for like a year and a half now. Non-judgment, releasing non-judgment.
No, I have some of those meditations that I do on Audible. They're free on Audible if you have an Audible account. And I have some that I go back to like over and over again. There's just a handful that I use over and over again. But again, it helps to move you away from that narrow focus on yourself. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to relax into. And, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about completing the stress cycle. If you're dealing with perfectionism.
Yep, you're on the verge of burnout.
You got a stress cycle you need to complete, folks.
Mhm.
And so go back and listen to that episode and listen to the ways that we talked about completing the stress cycle. All of them go back, or most of them go back to this idea of relaxing, finding some way to burn off that stress. If you're feeling unworthy all the time, if you're feeling like you're not doing enough, folks, you're cooking some low-level stress.
Right. And that's, again, check in with your emotions.
Yes.
Feel your feelings, process the emotions, allow some space.
Yeah.
To be human.
To be human, to be imperfect.
Yeah.
That's the goal. You know?
I'm speaking of being imperfect. I'm going to put my head down. I don't know if anybody's watching us on YouTube, but I'm scanning my notes for any last nuggets
of wisdom. I know. I've been working. We've been working on this one, letting this one cook for a while.
Right.
But I think if I could just leave people with one tip out of all of these, I would say that the one thing that I'd want to do is to get into a doable habit. Something doable where you're not looking at the task as this huge mountain that you have to accomplish perfectly today.
I love that.
Just revise it, narrow it down.
Just do one thing on that plan, Judith.
And be in integrity with yourself, right?
Absolutely. And it just like drop the shame shawl and show up.
Yes.
Like, this is not hard, but my brain sure does want to make it hard. And this is for me, I'm going to leave y'all with a quote. This is yet another Brene Brown, because I have it right here in front of me. And it's kind of how you might feel if you were wrapped in perfectionism. You can't do anything great if you are wearing the straitjacket of what people will think.
Oh, that's so good.
Solid.
Yes. All right. Well, folks, perfectionism. If you are looking for coaching on any of the issues that we cover, then you can find me at sonyagreencoaching.com.
And you can find me over at the No BS Weight Loss Program. One of the amazing coaches over there. I'm going to get a better tagline than that.
You are an amazing coach. I don't know a better tagline than that. If you know a perfectionist, if you love a perfectionist, share this episode with them. Not only does it help get the word out about what we're trying to do, helping empower women, empower people. You know, we talk to women a lot because we're women, but I know that there are a few men out there who listen to us too. So share that message with them. Our goal is to help as many people, to touch as many lives as we can. So share those things. And if you want an amazing coffee mug,
right, 15 ounces, that holds 2 cups of water.
There you go. Then leave us a review, a written review, not just the stars, but a written review on iTunes. And we would be happy to put your name in the drawing. We're drawing at least through Thanksgiving. And then who knows, we might have something else fun within the new year to draw for. But for now, these are pretty awesome, I think. Mm-hmm. So, all right. So that's the way to find us, to share us, and to win a mug.
What a combo.
Yeah.
Win-win.
That's right. All right. Until next week.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.